Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Facebook's new Libra coin and whether or not it's a hat off to the Gemini twins and kind of a blatant, I guess, like a slap in the face for the firm and the consortium's ability to create their own coin in face of the two Winklevoss twins. Also, for those of you that don't know, both Libra and Gemini are also air signs and twin signs themselves. So it is, whether you want to note it or not, kind of direct smack. But with that in mind, we're going to dive into some of the research of what makes Facebook's crypto coin one of the likely players on the street that's going to bring some mass adoption to the table, and some of the differences that makes it nowhere near as valuable as Bitcoin. So Libra's consortium is actually made up of a bunch of different companies and a backed basket of currencies. Now, in their write-ups and their technical papers, they say that it can only be pegged to a single currency. So something like the US dollar or the Great British Pound that isn't pegged to another currency, which also means Bitcoin fits in that basket. It's something they made very clear. They're also using a Byzantine fault protectant chain. It's a proof of stake chain. Now, they haven't issued too much on the details of what that looks like in the long term in terms of the production of tokens, because there is 2 tokens that they plan on releasing. One of those is for governance. Now, one of the most interesting parts here that I found, because of my interest in this space, they've actually partnered with a company called Kiva. For those of you who don't know, check them out now. But essentially what they've realized is that cross-border transactions are very expensive, and there are a lot of companies that need cheaper cross-border transactions. Kiva happens to be one of those companies that could thrive with that type of infrastructure. So there's a few that they say the non-profit, non-governmental sector can actually become part of the consortium without the $10 million in lit to back them up. So essentially what they're saying is that there's a key use case, and we agree, the way to fund, I guess, different social impact causes around the world. Something Arcane has been working on diligently for the last 2 years. So even though we're not the first to the table, it definitely looks like we're right on top of the wave. And when there's any type of wave, that means there's a lot of momentum in the space. You don't need to be the world's best surfer to have a great time surfing. So let's dive in and take a look at a little bit of some of the research that we found online this morning and where you can find it as well. So let's go over some of this here. We're basically going to be reading from some of info, the Binance research. Actually, we'll post the links for this below. I'm a pretty big fan of some of Binance Research's stuff. We do use it quite frequently. Oh, come on. Don't sit around me, B. You're gonna be annoying. Binance Research, thank you for this one. So, Libra is a cryptocurrency minted on the Libra network, a blockchain developed by the Swiss Foundation and Consortium led by Facebook. The cryptocurrency is also a basket of backed financial assets called the Libra Reserve. This is initial release scheduled for 2020. It's running on a proof of stake blockchain with a 2-token system. The new financial infrastructure will rely on the Byzantine fault protectant consensus algorithm and will support smart contracts after it completes its transition from permissioned to a permissionless environment. Within the next 18 months, Libra will be incorporated into the Facebook ecosystem, but also built around the Messenger app, WhatsApp, and Facebook.com, and the likelihood that it rolls out to some of the other Facebook applications like Instagram is highly probable as well. Yet in the medium to long term, the initiative here is expected to have significant impact on both local and global markets, the crypto and financial and economic landscape as a whole. And we actually largely really agree here. You know, the crypto world has gotten a bad name up to its start because it was used on the underlying dark web of the internet. But this really puts a very trusted face, well, not really. I mean, who trusts Facebook nowadays anymore? They've lost all of our data. I mean, the downside to this is that it really puts the hands of the financial information as well as everything you do in the hands of one company. It's actually very dangerous. Anyone that knows anything about fragility knows that you want a distributed system, right? That's one of the reasons why blockchain is so powerful, is because it actually removes some of the liability of having a single centralized source of information. Yet here's Facebook sitting with not just your financial data potentially now, but all of your personal data, including your address, your home phone numbers, pictures of you, your family. This can be very dangerous. This can lead to a very dangerous set of, I guess, domino effects in the future. I mean, to this point, I think Facebook actually has a lot of failure points as in comparison. Bitcoin in the long run, I believe, will be worth a hell of a lot more than Libra's coin, yet this type of interaction with the global community and the crypto developer space, which could bring tons of new jobs and interest into this space, is going to be very beneficial. But again, we're looking at why something like Bitcoin is so valuable in the first place. I mean, Facebook starts to fall along in the lines more of the XRP consortium, which is, oh, we're going to build out a suite of products that's beneficial for our corporation. And really, everything Facebook has done for their corporation has left the end user and the consumer vulnerable. They basically make money off of you, yet you you are never incentivized to continue to stay around. So unless Facebook gets their shit together and really understands that they should be paying you for your content online, I think this is going to be a failure to some degree. A failure only next to something like Bitcoin, which actually has the fundamentals of what you would look for in a money and a currency already put up to bat. Whereas Facebook's kind of stepping in here with the Libra consortium and making a middle ground. And we've always hypothesized that middle grounds were an important next step in the way this thing goes. So in the long term, obviously this is a reshaping of the payment industry. This is why companies like PayPal and eBay have started to jump on board, is because a lot of the times people go from Facebook to Amazon to YouTube, right, to Google. So there needs to be some way that these companies can communicate without having to have so many costs incurred. I mean, one of the other big things that the blockchain space really aimed to do is remove the middleman from the costs. So I think that overall, this is going to bring adoption up to speed very, very quickly. So what does it mean for the rest of the people that are on the greater financial markets? Well, there are already 2.7 billion people that effectively use Facebook, and most of them, the younger kids, have actually switched to Instagram. So even though Facebook is an older generation, like me and my old fart self, that the younger generation is actually going to be, they'll find this later on down their path, because it's very likely that Instagram will have the same functions as WhatsApp, and you might even find some interoperability between these platforms. Again, so I think this is one of the steps towards mass adoption and regulation. But again, the downside is that there is also almost always tyranny involved in governance and financial mechanisms. It's because it attracts the corrupt, and it attracts the people that are looking to take control of the financial markets at large. So I think what's really important here is that people recognize the difference. And with time, they may actually just end up doing so by accident. For someone that buys a Facebook cryptocurrency and gets into the whole process of studying, then probably starts to study Bitcoin and the others. Now, who takes over the global market share? Well, Libra coin is likely to jump up in value quite quickly because it's going to be pegged to other assets. But if it has a basket of currencies in it that start to fail, Libra coin's token value could also start to fail. But as I've mentioned, they said that other currencies could be added to their basket, such as Bitcoin. So say if Kiva wanted to add Bitcoin as their, I guess, little choke up point, then they could do that as well. Now, we've actually recently seen Binance do this as well with their BTCP token, which is essentially a version of Bitcoin that's not a Bitcoin, but it's a Binance chain wrapped around a wallet of tokens. It's kind of abstract because I mean, this is the only time I would agree with Peter Schiff about this particular market, is that, yeah, we're going to see an inflation of these currencies, but just think how many currencies we have around the planet already. The group of distributed currencies of fiat, for better or for worse, actually places less risk on the others, right? Because now you have one that can fail next to the others that aren't particularly failing at the moment. So I think this is hugely important, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to cover it. I didn't want to come out, I thought about making a video like, oh, why Facebook coin is worse than XRP, but I'm actually pretty impressed after reading through all this information. They seem to be taking some of the right steps, and I think that they've included the Winklevoss twins in these conversations because something like Libra is a direct hat's nod to the Gemini exchange. To go in and to pull out an astrological sign for the name of your company, and not only that, an air sign that is also another balance sign, which there are only 3 of in the entire zodiac. Well, there's only 12 of them, right? So not an entirely big difference, but that's around a 25% probability that they would do that on top of choosing an astrological sign for their consortium as well. Anyways, Steve with the Arcane Bear. I just want to do a quick update on the new Libra consortium. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you like this content. I know you guys had said you wanted to go outside more often, so hey, Tio's outside. Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you on the other side.